Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second installment of the Action Adventure News. I'm Derek Jones, reporting here from my living or my dining room slash kitchen in McMinnville, Oregon, where I live. Um, I made some announcements last month about starting this project. I was very excited about it, but over a month has gone by since I made the last video, and as I kind of analyze why, a big part of the reason is that I work a lot, like all of us. We all mostly work a lot, and most of the people I know work a lot. Some work a ton. I have 3 jobs, and I kind of want to talk about this subject on this installment, just how much we all work and how that affects everything. Part of the reason politics, I'm convinced, are so totally messed up is that we don't have time to attend to it. So, I mean, we hire or elect um, representatives, but the representatives immediately become targets for corruption and for corrupting influences like money interest. And money interest, as we all know, on both sides of the political aisle, runs the show. If you don't think so, I don't know what to tell you. Money has a much greater influence on our elections and how the world is than does the desires of the citizenry. I think as citizens, if we could vote on how our tax dollars were spent and design the budget ourselves, I think we'd have a very different world. But because we have elected officials who become targets for corruption and become corrupted by these monetary influences, we have the world that we have instead, and the country that we have. But I personally know that the people I know almost unanimously don't want a lot of what's happening. And so why does it keep happening? Well, we work all the time. We don't have time to attend to local political meetings, especially when they're you have critical important issues that are addressed at 11 o'clock in the afternoon at the city council, and most people are at work. So, and I mean, I think another large part of the issue here is that we don't really have any cohesion as citizens anymore. Everyone's really caught up in this concept of individuality, and we spend our time with our friends and family, kind of isolated from each other. And even when we get out in our car and go drive around town, there's no connection happening because we're isolated. We're in a vehicle with the music on and the air conditioning, and we can drive past kind of the horrors of our community without even seeing them a lot of times. But when you get out and walk around, it's a different place, which I do a lot of walking, a ton of walking, it's almost my primary, it is definitely my primary form of transportation here in town. And one of the beauties of this community is that it's small enough that I can walk to work, I can walk to my studio, post office walking distance, but most of the time I drive there because I got stuff to take. But there's a health food store and a market all very close, and this is really kind of an ideal situation for me, and it connects me to the community in ways that a lot of other things don't. A lot of our society is designed to keep us away from each other and divided. And I'm not really interested in division anymore, and I'm not interested in blaming anymore. What I'm interested in is how we, as citizens, can create a more functional model. I talk about this a lot on Facebook. It's one of like 4 or 5 posts I make that are all just worded differently. A few years ago, I tried to start a group called the Kindness and Compassion Group. And at one point, we were 15 members strong. The reason that group disbanded was everybody got caught up in their ideological differences and wanted to pontificate on their ideology rather than trying to collaborate to do some kind of community work. Now I know there's a lot of people doing community work in town that I've tried to connect with, and I'm very interested in that. But there's not the group that I'm looking for, and that's part of what this project is about. I want to bypass traditional media and try to create a group here in town that collaborate together to create a news organization. And I want the idea to spread. That's what I would ideally like, because I think if we could take back media if we did this. I mean, the people that have time to do investigative journalism and the knowledge could be making a huge impact right now. And I think we expect our systems to change all the time, but the systems aren't going to change unless we change them. And resistance is important. I get that. But more importantly than resistance is creating a model that we can have as an alternative to the one that's here right now. And this American corporate model now is destructive. And it's, I mean, sure, standard of living for humans has improved dramatically in the last few hundred years. But for the rest of life on Earth and for the diversity of life on Earth, for our ecosystems, it's been a disaster. And I know there's a lot of people out there that think, okay, we're gonna make a a spaceship and fly to Mars, and then we can colonize Mars, and I'm not here to dismiss the whole idea of going to space, but what I am here to do is is to talk to everybody about how we can approach this a little differently and create a different kind of movement. Action Adventure News, the goal of this is just going to be an organization that's not beholden to money interests, that really just has people's interest in mind primarily, and also looks at the way we live and how we can do it differently so that we can create something a lot more functional. I don't think it's rocket science, and I don't think it's going to be as hard as a lot of people think, and I don't think it's going to be the problem, or I mean, I'm sure we'll run into problems. I mean, when I started the other group before, there was a lot of unintended consequences, and so I'm trying to do it smarter. And but we all want a different kind of world. A lot of people do, and whatever your political belief, I mean, I think we all see all the shortcomings of this and want something better and more heart and more wise. We all have knowledge. If we share that with each other and collaborate together in small groups at first and then grow into larger groups, we can take back over the whole political system, and we can bring our representatives to heel, or we can eliminate the representatives. I mean, I know that's a radical thought, but don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating for. The only thing I'm advocating is for just more participation and collaboration, and that's the whole idea behind this. But if we're working all the time, it makes it super hard. So, I don't know what the answer is to the work question, and how that takes up all our time. And then by the time people do get off work, they just want to spend it with their families, or they want to get high, or whatever. They just don't. They want to check out a lot of times, even if it's just to watch TV, because they've been focused at work all damn day. So my wife and I always talk about how we could redesign our lives into something more beautiful. And that's what I'm talking about, like as community members. I mean, the person I'm going to primarily work with is her, to redesign our lives. And when I was young, my main focus was like creating a life that was amazing, and I did. And but now I've gotten a little older, and I see the shortcomings of that. It didn't really help my community. I thought by setting an example that that would be enough, and sure, I set an example, and I did what I thought was the right thing to do at the time. But you get older, you kind of realize like, oh, well, there's a lot going on here that I wasn't really attending to. So I want to continue this conversation, but this is a conversation of work. So in the comments on this post and on YouTube or whatever, if you could share some of how work affects you. And I know some people do good work that they love. And I actually like my jobs, all of them. But I know a lot of people who hate their work. I mean, I talk to people all the time who don't like what they do. And I even heard somebody recently say, you're not supposed to like work. Well, okay, if you say so. But the truth is like we could design anything we wanted here if we were working together. Anything. So maybe let's try that. Thank you. Have a beautiful day. Bye.